Hey everybody. So tonight I wanted to do a yoga basics flow that's going to be a bit more focused on the hamstrings. My name's Jessica if you haven't practiced with me before, so thank y'all for joining me. I know when I first came to the yoga practice, I came with not a lot of body awareness. I hadn't come from an athletic background, and so this practice was very new to me and very different. And there were often times when I felt like I was doing it wrong, or like, was everyone looking at me, or um, was everyone going to think I'm silly, and that kind of thing. And I think when we are first coming to the practice, that is a common feeling or a common fear that we're going to do it wrong, that people are going to laugh at us, or people are going to judge us. And just really inviting you as you move through your practice, especially that we're at home right now and we're not in the confines of a room where people can see us in our practice. There's maybe a little bit more freedom right now, even though we've got more boundaries, for us to really explore what it is to be in our bodies and to feel our bodies. So as we move through practice tonight, again, it's less about getting a posture right or wrong, but more about us really focusing on what we're feeling and just getting reconnected to our body, to our breath, and to our mind. And when we move through practice today, I'll offer some different options with props, without props, but just different ways for us to feel our bodies. And then we work into the way that feels best for us. So for tonight's practice, it's going to be good to have a couple of thick books or a couple of yoga blocks and to have a yoga strap. If as we move through practice, you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to unmute yourself and just pop in with a question at any point that you have one along the way. So we're going to get started in a comfortable seat. Whatever that looks like for us, feel free to sit up on a pillow or a block or a blanket, and you can have your legs out straight or any ways that it feels comfortable for you to take your seat. We'll sit up nice and tall from here. Draw the shoulders up towards the ears and then back and down on the back of the body. And then your choice to either keep your eyes open and focused on one point or to gently close your eyes now. We're going to talk about a certain breathing technique for practice called diaphragmatic breathing. And it simply means, it's a long name for a pretty simple breathing technique, that as we breathe in and out through our nose, that it's going to be the belly that moves more than maybe necessarily the chest. Some of us might be chest breathers, but we're going to try to drop it down low, and that helps us not only access more area of our lungs to oxygenate, but also it allows us to be in a bit more of a less fight or flight, but a more kind of chilled out state as we move through the practice. Just noticing your body here this evening. And then moving your awareness to the tip of your nose. And noticing the feel and the flow of the breath there. How short or how long your breath is. And then on your next breath in, we'll start to allow the belly to move out. With the next breath out, we'll feel the belly draw back in. Breathing in, belly moves out. Breathing out, belly draws back in. As you keep with this, it's not like a big beach ball we have to puff out. We don't have to pull it in super tight. We want to make sure that this foundation for the practice is sustainable. So making sure our breath feels big enough for us, long enough for us, but not to the point that we strain on either end. Can move your hands to heart center, palms together, or one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. As you connect your skin upon skin, really set yourself in with the intention to listen and feel your own body in tonight's practice and to follow its guide. We'll take a moment here to set an intention or dedication for our practice. And then we'll take a cleansing breath here together. Deep breath in. Let it go through the mouth. As you start to open your eyes, after that act of exhalation, you might have felt a bigger release. So if there's any point during practice, if you're trying really hard, you're trying to nail something or be really in it, and you find you're holding a lot of tension or a lot of excess heat, then allow an act of exhalation to come in and give yourself a little bit of space to kind of melt into whatever we're working on at that moment. Okay, we're going to come to lie back on our backs, and we're going to have our strap or tie, whatever we're using, off to the side of the mat where we can easily reach it. Going to work into a posture, reclining hand to foot pose or Supta Padangusthasana. As we lay back on our backs, we're going to take our strap, and you can either have it as a loop or you can just have it loose. Drawing your right knee in towards your chest, you might have to scoop your head and shoulders up off the mat, but we're going to draw the strap around the ball of the foot and start to extend the right leg up towards the ceiling. Now we're going to go as straight with the right leg as it feels accessible for us right now. And we're just going to kind of feel out our hamstring for a second on the right side. If it feels like a lot with your left leg long down the length of the mat, feel free to bend your left knee and draw the sole of the left foot to the mat. You can even try it, even if it doesn't feel like a lot, and just see how it feels to have it extended or bent, and then moving back into the place where it felt better for you. Now, when we activate our muscles differently, we're going to see that the sensation that we feel in the back of the leg through the hamstrings on the outside and inside are going to be a little bit different. So let's draw our toes towards our face. That's called flexion or dorsiflexion. So we're going to flex them down towards our face and drive out through our heel and see what that feels like on the back of the leg. Then take a moment, point your toes, see what that feels like on the back of the leg, and then vice versa, maybe what it feels like on the front of the leg. Flex, point. We're going to flex this time. We're going to stay flexed. Now we're going to try to straighten our leg as much as we can. We're going to activate our quadriceps to help that extension on the back of the leg. But again, if we need a bend, that's fine. If you've got a little bit more space, you'll move gently your foot towards your face. But being mindful of where we're working and those cues with the hamstring, if we're getting sharp stabbing pains or burning pain near the glutes, near the bum, we want to start to slow down there, find our breath, and maybe back out of it just a little bit. We're going to keep our right leg really active, and we're going to activate our core, draw our chin in towards our chest, and start to elevate our head and shoulders away from the mat. Now, if we need a little bit of extra support for this, feel free to put a forearm down and allow the elbow and the forearm to help you lift up. Otherwise, we're probably going to feel our lower back grounding a little bit more strongly down into the mat. As we work the core, we still want to work our breath here. And we've still got our leg really active. So the quadriceps, these big meaty muscles on the front of our right thigh, they're turned on. The muscles on our shin, drawing our toes towards our face. Take one more breath in. Exhale, let it go. As the back of your head comes to the mat, if you felt a lot of strain in your head and your neck, give yourself a little rock side to side. Moving the strap into the right hand, we're going to start to open the right leg off to the right. The left arm can come off to the left as a counterbalance to help us do this. Left hip, left butt cheek, try to ground it into the mat a little bit more. So we're not simply rolling over towards the right to try to get our right foot to touch the floor, but we're working Booty's grounding, bum active. Actually, the glute muscles are active here too. And we're trying to keep the left hip grounded a little bit more for today's practice. So we start to feel the right inner thigh stretch out a little bit more. Now, your right foot could be in line with your hip. It could be down lower, or we could be drawing it up closer towards our face. So feel free to play with the angle of the leg and kind of see where it feels like you need to be for your practice today. So there is no one right way to do any practice, in my opinion, as a teacher. So as you move through practice, feel free to play around with the angles or even kind of bouncing in some of the movements. We're going to come back through center, draw our right knee in towards our rib cage, and we're going to work a half happy baby. Feel free to do this with a strap still bound around the foot. The right knee, right thigh is going to come outside the right rib cage a little bit. Some other options here. You can reach outside the outer edge of the right foot. You can do this bind back behind the calf. And you can also bind back behind the knee and thigh. All different options, all are great. Just explore which one feels most accessible for you today. Here, if we need to bend the left knee, we can play with that option too. You might have more space to clear if you draw the right thigh out wider to the right. So play with it here. Take one more breath in. And then slipping that strap off. If we had it around the foot, take the right leg up, shake it out, feel the skin wiggle all around the bone, let it go. And then we're going to start to lower the right leg down. Hugging the left knee in towards the chest, we're going to strap up the foot. Again, we might have to curl up to get the foot, that's fine. And then we're going to take it up towards the ceiling, moving it just a little bit gently here at first. You can go side to side or front and back. Remember that right leg can be straight or it can be bent, sole to fit on the mat. Either one is great. And then we're going to come into our more static stretching to get to know our left hamstring. So let's straighten our leg as much as it's going to straighten for us today. We're going to start to feel a little bit of a stretch on the back of the left leg, hopefully there already. And then we'll flex our toes towards our face, dorsiflexion. We're going to point our toes. As you move back and forth between the two, breathing in, flex. Feel the shift on the front and the back of the leg. Exhale, point. Breathing in for dorsiflexion, we're going to stay here. Just like when we had our leg out to the side, how that angle might have changed the stretch, same thing here. So where are the limitations of our body, but also where can we feel the back of the leg being stretched out in the way we want it to be stretched out today? Take another breath in. On the exhale, curl your chin in towards your chest, head and shoulders up off the mat. We're going to start to feel core activate a little bit more. Now our core is not just our abs. I tend to say it runs anywhere from about the nipple line to right below the hips on the back of the body as well. So we've got a lot of components here. But right now, we might actually have our gaze focused on our belly, so we're really aware of that, making sure we're still breathing. We might feel the back of the body grounding into the mat a little bit more. Try to keep the head and the neck. I know they're engaged to lift up, but as relaxed as we can around that. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, relax it down. Turn the head a little bit left and right if we need to, and then we're going to open the left leg off to the left. Remember, we're trying to keep for today's practice the right glute, right hip more grounded. So some people like to reach off to the side. This provides a little bit of weight and counterbalance with the right arm. Some people like to bring the right hand to the right hip to keep more awareness here. So you can play with either option. And you can play with the angle of the left foot, whether it's coming up closer to your face, in line with your hip, or closer towards your right leg. Kind of fire up those booty cheek muscles. Feel out where you're noticing this. If it's on, for me today, on the inside of the thigh, a lot more than it is on the outer hip, but it might be different for you. Inhaling, take a big breath in. Left leg to center, and then on the exhale, bend the left knee. We're going to work into our half happy baby on this side. So remember, we can keep the strap bound around the foot. You've got those options to reach in front of the calf around the outer edge, to come inside the leg behind the calf, come to the heel or the outside, or we've got that option to bind back behind the knee and thigh. If we need a little bit more space or it just feels better, you can always bring the sole of the right foot to the mat. And then we're going to draw the left thigh down towards our body, but off to the left a little bit, especially if our hips are feeling pretty available today. If you've got more room, you're going to go off to the side, but make sure the knee feels okay with whatever we're working. Take one more breath in, letting it go. And then drawing the left leg towards center, we're going to take the strap off of our left foot, draw our knees in towards our chest, give a little rock side to side or little knee circles, and then we're going to start to rock up and down our spine. Any issues with the rocking, just skip it, roll over to one side or the other, and then we're going to come up and over to our all fours position, our tabletop position. I'm going to work it with blocks tonight just because it's going to give me longer arms and going to give me a little bit more space, especially if I'm feeling tight on the back of the body. I went for a jog the other day, and if you know me, I don't jog. So I'm feeling quite tight, which is not natural for me. So going to work with the blocks to give myself more space. I highly recommend this for you. Sometimes what feels better for the wrists and the palms is not to have the palms flat on the blocks, but to wrap the pads of the fingertips around the front of the blocks, and then to really press down through this pad underneath the fingertips and the heel of the palm. We want to even out that weight distribution. Knees can be about hip width apart or closer together, wide, or whatever feels most appropriate. Hands are probably going to be about your shoulder distance apart, but if your shoulders are tight, you might need to go a little bit wider. Hands and fingertips can point forward. If we've got tighter shoulders or broader shoulders, you might turn the hands out a little bit instead of directly forward, out just a smidge. So we're going to find that place that feels good for us here. We're going to press through the first pad underneath the fingers, through the fingertips and the heel of the palm, and really drive our belly and our spine away from the mat. More of a neutral tabletop here. Then cat-cows. Breathing in, lower the belly, lift the head, lift the tailbone. Breathing out, you're going to round the back in the cat pose. Draw the chin in towards the chest. Tailbone draws under. Breathing in, it's going to feel like the booty's popping up towards the air. Cow pose, belly lowers. Exhale, round. The area between the shoulder blades are going to stretch out to the left and the right with your cat pose. Inhale, cow pose. The muscles between the shoulder blades are going to work to draw them closer together. Exhale, cat. One more. Breathing in, cow pose. Breathing out, cat pose. So deep flexion here. We have extension happening in our cow pose. Come back through our neutral spine. We're going to shift the weight into the left leg. Reach our right leg back. Tuck the toes under. And that same thing that we did with our strap earlier, where we drove out through the heel and flex the toes towards our face, we're going to do that now. Try to straighten the leg as much as we can so we feel the quadricep muscles fire up. And then we're going to lift the right leg up, now activating our booty muscles. See if you're sinking down and losing the strength in your shoulders, arms, torso, and try to drive again more into our neutral back. Exhale, round. Draw your knee underneath your body. You might aim to touch it to your mouth, nose, or forehead. Inhale, take it back. Straighten it out, press out through that heel, try to work it up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So we're moving with the breath. Inhale. What do you feel on the back of the leg, right leg, as you stretch it out? Exhale. One more time. We're going to take it up and back, really drive it out, and then draw the right knee back down to the mat. Find our tabletop. If you ever need some moments in practice where you come to shake out the wrist or roll it out, feel free to do that. I recommend, I'm not talking about a wrist warm up in tonight's practice, but looking up some wrist exercises, doing a couple of those before you start any practice. Let's move into the left side. So we're going to find our strong tabletop position, stretch our left leg back behind us, drive out through the heel and try to straighten that left leg a little bit more. And then we're going to elevate it up away from the mat. Keep driving out through that heel. Exhale, round your back, press out through your arms, draw your chin in towards your chest. Inhale, reach back. You can point the toes or flex the toes towards the floor, straighten the leg more, work the booty. Exhale, round. Inhale, extend. Exhale, round, really strong arms. Inhale, take it back. One more time. Exhale, draw it underneath your body. Feel what it feels like as the leg starts to move into extension, as you find that fullest extension on the back of the leg, and then left toes down, left knee down. Exhale, hips to your heels, child's pose. Moving in the direction of the heels with the hips. They don't have to come all the way down. And your knees can be together or apart, any distance that you need to. Feel free to keep your hands on your blocks. Your forehead can come down to the mat. Or you can wrap your arms or bring your elbows and forearms down to the mat for your child's pose. Take a couple of moments here, just feeling out what we've done for the body so far and how we're feeling. Another breath in. Let it go. We're going to shift back forward, find our tabletop. Press out through the arms, activate the belly. We're going to step our left leg back, tuck the toes under like we just practiced. And then we're going to try to press through our arms, hug our right knee in towards our chest, which means we're going to have to really round out and press through our arms. We're going to think that same actions when we round it in. So drive your left thigh away from the mat, press into the ball of your left foot, into your arms, lift up. You can always keep the right toes down for a little bit of help. Otherwise, we're going to hug them in and we're going to step our right foot forward towards the blocks. Lower the left knee down towards the mat. So we're finding a low lunge here. Now, if your knee is sensitive, feel free to fold the left edge of your mat over or to grab a blanket or any sort of pillow or padding that you need underneath the knee. Something that'll make us more comfortable here if we haven't done this a lot before is not to be directly on the top of the kneecap when we're settling down into the lunge, but to actually be slightly above it. So sometimes that means moving the knee back a little bit more, moving the front foot forward. We're going to find our lunge here. Now, if we need to take our right foot out wider, we can to feel more stable. So we'll have more stability here if our right foot's in line with our right hip and left knee's in line with our left hip, instead of trying to put them directly on one line. The more we're going to shift forward and down, the more we're probably going to feel this on the front of our left hip. So if you need to shift back a little bit, you can. Bring your hands as an intermediate to your right thigh, right knee. We're going to inhale, try to lengthen up through the spine here. From here, we're going to reach our arms up alongside our ears. If we've got the shoulder mobility, or further forward or bent, maybe if we don't, if it's not feeling so good tonight, keep lengthening up through the crown of the head. Take another breath in. And then exhale, hands down to those blocks. Slide on back. And we're going to shift back for a half split. So we're going to move our booty back towards our left heel. We're not going to lower all the way down. But as we roll back, we're going to try to flex our toes back towards our face, that dorsiflexion again. We're going to get more active in the right leg. So let's work those quadriceps, drive the right hamstring a little bit more towards the floor. Inhale, move forward. The hands can stay on the blocks as we shift back into our lunge. Exhale, move back. We're thinking that belly breath as we're moving. Exhale, move back. One more time. Move it forward. Move it back. We're going to work into that half split. We're going to stay here for a second. Let's flex our toes strongly, really work that right leg straighter. Let's point the toes and see how that feels. Flex the toes. Inhale, lift the spine up more. Exhale, fold it down. Inhale, lift. What happens to the back of the body, in particular the right leg, as we go lower? Where and how do we feel it? One more time, inhale. One more time, exhale. Nice. We're going to move back forward into our lunge. This time we're going to move our right hand inside our right foot. So we've got a little bit more room. Swing that right leg back. We're going to find that tabletop position. If you need a little waggle into your hips or anything like that, feel free to do that. Place your hands back on your blocks. We're going to find our strong, active, more neutral tabletop. This time we're going to stretch the right leg back, tuck the toes under, drive out through the heel. We're going to use the power of our arms and really working our right quadriceps to lift our left knee up off the mat. Now we can keep that left foot down if we need to. Otherwise, we're going to try to hug it in. Get stronger through those arms. Step your left foot forward. Lower the right knee down to the mat. From here, we're going to position our knees and our feet so that we feel comfortable in our lunge. Balance from left to right. And if we need to pad that back knee, we'll take a little bit of time to do that. Now I've got my back toes tucked under. That's the way I like to do it. Feel free to do with the top of your right foot on the mat. Some people like to really press to the top of the foot. So another option to play with there. As our intermediate, we're going to bring our hands to our left thigh or left knee or our forearms there. Try to drive into your left heel a little bit more. And then inhale, lengthen. And then we'll move the arms up. Another option for the arms is to come out to the side. So that might feel good for some of us. It might not feel good for some of us. Remember, we might not have the shoulder mobility to work the arms back alongside the ears or further back. So we might have them more forward. We might have them a little bit bent. Gonna breathe here. 3, 2, on 1. Hands are gonna touch down to our blocks. We'll move them back so we've got a little bit more room to work into our half split. This is called Ardha Hanuman. So as we move back, shifting the booty back, straightening the left leg more. Inhale back forward into the lunge. If you've got your blocks, you can always move them forwards and backwards with you. Exhale, take it back. Inhale, move it forward. So trying maybe not to move so mechanically through these, but as we move slowly, we're giving ourselves time to really feel where we notice this movement. Is it more in the back? Is it in the leg? Is it in the right hip? As we exhale back for our half split, we're going to stay here a little bit longer. We're going to dorsiflex our toes towards our face. Try to straighten our left leg a little bit more, and then point the toes. See what changes on the front and the feeling of the leg, and on the back and the feeling of the leg. Flex it. Point it. And then we'll come back to the flex if that feels appropriate for the hamstrings. Inhale, lift the spine up a little bit. Exhale, fold. Inhale. Only go into this fold as far as it feels safe and accessible. But notice what happens each time you fold down to your leg versus lifting up. Exhale, fold. Coming back up through our inhale, we're going to move back forward into our lunge. And then Left hand can come inside our left foot so that we have a little bit more space to move the left leg back or swing it back. From here, we're going to have the toes tucked under. We're going to walk the hands back. You can do this with blocks. Lift the knees away from the mat, and we're going to take a standing forward fold at the back of the mat. Feet can be about hip width apart, wider or more narrow, whatever feels comfortable. Feel free to pop a break in the legs by bending the knees as much as you need to here. Hands can be on blocks, forearms can be on blocks, or we can just hang out here, binding elbows or binding wrists. Feel free to sway it out or bounce it out. But wherever you are, notice if you're lifting your head up and see if you can draw the chin in towards the chest for a second. And then kind of just let it hang out. You might shake it out a little bit too, especially if you're bouncing or bobbing side to side for a ragdoll. Let's take another breath in, noticing the back of the body. So we might be getting some more cues about how our hamstrings do feel, how our spine feels, how the back of our neck feels. Take one more breath in, letting that go. We'll place our feet a comfortable distance apart, bend the knees as much as we need to. We're going to roll up the spine. So keeping the chin in towards the chest, we're going to round up. Once we round up, we'll start to extend the legs more. So like we're driving into our heels, stand up a little bit taller, circle or reach our arms up. Our gaze can go up if we want to, stand up nice and tall. And then we're going to swan dive down. That means we're going to take our arms out towards the sides. We might bend the knees because we want to lengthen spine. So if I've got my legs straight and to come down, I start to round down. Not so much what we're aiming for with swan dive. Not that it's a bad thing, but just a different action than what we're aiming for. So if we find this with our legs straight, we can come back up, bend our knees as deeply as we need to, and it's going to be more a hinge at the hips. So think about leading with your chest. So we'll lead out with the chest. You can take the gaze forward, sometimes helps with that, rather than drawing it down and in. You might start to feel the belly engage a little bit more as we come to that halfway point. You're bending your knees as much as you need to. We're going to come all the way down. Hands are going to ground into our blocks or into the mat. Relax your head and your neck, forward fold. Inhale into a half lift. So we're going to lengthen up to about that halfway point that we felt with our swan dive, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Hands can be on blocks here to do this or on our legs. We're going to lengthen out through the spine, create that longer length. It's not a flat back because our back is not flat, but it's lengthened. Feel the back of the body. Do a couple little tilts with the pelvis. So see what happens to the stretch in the hamstrings if you draw your pubic bone towards your ribs. So it's as if we're drawing our tailbone under versus kind of popping the booty up a little bit more. Couple more times. Check that out. What does it feel like on the back of the body, in particular the legs? Take the booty up so it's like little cat-cows. One more time. Round it out. And then lengthen it out. We're going to take our forward fold again. So relax the belly towards the thighs. Let the head go heavy. We're going to roll ourselves up. As we stand up, the legs will firm up more. We'll reach our arms up. We can choose to take our gaze up if we want to. And then we're going to swan dive down. So arms out to the sides. Bending the knees as much as we need to. We think about leading with the chest again, right? Hands are going to come down, forward fold. So relax the head and the neck. Ground into your blocks or into your mat. Inhale up into your half lift. And then we're going to walk the blocks or our hands forward towards the top of the mat. So we're going to walk through basically a plank pose. When we find this plank pose, we're going to do the same thing we did earlier, but now we're starting up higher. Draw our right knee in towards our chest. Really press out through the arms. If we're less active in the left thigh or we're sinking in the left hip, we're not going to have as much space to lift up. Same thing through the arms. If we're sinking down and not pressing away, we're not going to have that space. So let's track that out again. Let's really go ahead, press everything away from the mat. Draw the right knee in towards the chest. Step it forward in between the blocks. We're going to stay on the ball of the back foot. That means that back heel is elevated. If this is at all difficult for us, all we're going to do is step the left foot in and spin that heel down and in a little bit. Great modification if we need it. Otherwise, we're going to challenge our balance a little bit here. So heel lifted, right knee bent. It can be stacked directly above the heel, but it can also be forwards or backwards a little bit depending on what we need. We're going to take that intermediate step. But first, let's make sure our stance left to right, just like with our low lunge, feels okay and stable. Really firm up the back leg. Hands or forearms to that right thigh or right knee. And we're going to start to lengthen up, just like we did with our low lunge earlier. From here, we'll take our arms up or out to the sides and up. What's going to help us when we're practicing a balance, because this is a balance. We're on the ball of the back foot is going to be to focus our gaze on one point and then to also work into this belly breath. So this diaphragmatic breathing has been shown to help us with postural balance, especially around the torso. So take another breath in. Exhale, hands down. As they touch the blocks, we're going to step our left foot in and we're going to spin that left heel down and into the right, like I talked about with the modification. We're going to work into pyramid pose. So we might come up higher on our blocks. We're going to focus on our right leg. We're going to straighten our right leg more and think about moving that right hip back in space, left hip forward. So both legs are working more towards straight. Do they need to be perfectly straight? No, there's no such thing as perfectly straight. Do they need to look really straight? No, just so that we're feeling the back of the right leg, which is our focus today. We can dorsiflex here if we've got the space and it feels appropriate. Draw our right toes towards our face. Some other options here, we could take our lengthened spine, almost like our half lift, but you can also fold down like we played with our low lunge, moving up and down. Breathe into this position on this side, because this hamstring is going to be different and feel different than the other one. Breathe 3. Breathe 2. On 1, we're going to place that right foot back down. If we dorsiflexed it, lean into the right foot, step our left foot forward, give our hips a little shake if we need it. Roll up our spine. So we've got our stance. We're grounding into our feet. We firm up our legs. We decide how we want to reach our arms up. We're going to think about that swan dive down, leading with the chest again. Hands come down to blocks or the mat. Take that forward fold. Relax. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. As we stand up, we're going to shift our weight into our right foot. Feel the heel, the pad, the toe pads, all of that ground down. If you need a little intermediate step here, you're going to pop your left foot up on the block. We're going to try to stand up tall here. Focus our gaze on one point. The standing leg can be bent or straight, whatever we need, and hands can go over wherever it's going to help us balance. From here, we're going to draw our left knee in towards our chest. If we're not feeling super stable in our balance, if you need to move to a wall or you have a piece of furniture around, feel free to stabilize with as little as you need. So maybe a fingertip or 2 fingertips. Again, try to stand up a little bit taller. Hug your left thigh in, and then we're going to reach down with our hands, interlace underneath our thigh, and try to work our legs straighter like we practiced earlier. Flex your toes towards your face. We're still going to try to stand up tall here. Breathe 3, 2, 1. Nice. Spin the left knee back in, left foot back down. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, swan dive down. As our hands touch our blocks or the mat, we're going to step back into kind of a high plank, a little bit higher than I would normally take a plank. We're not quite in a down dog. We're not quite in a plank. We're just giving ourselves the ability to know what it is to create more room so we can draw our leg underneath our body. So let's do that now. Take the pelvis up, press out through the arms, round the back a little bit more, really firm up that right leg, hug your left knee in towards your chest, squeeze it in tight, and then we're going to step our left foot forward. We've got the left knee bent, we've got that right heel elevated unless we needed that modification that we learned on the other side. If we need more stability, we have our left foot in front of our left hip, right toes behind our right hip. Intermediate steps going to be hands to that left thigh just to make sure we have that balance. And then we're going to start to lift more upright with our torso and our spine here. Depending on what's going on with our back today, our hips and our knees, this back knee might need to be bent or straight. So you can play with those different positions. And then whatever feels good for your arms here, you can do all sorts of cool, crazy shapes. We're just working this high lunge, trying to get really long through the spine, focusing our gaze, crescent lunge. Take one more breath in. Exhale, hands down to the mat. We need to shorten this stance so we can place that right foot down. So we'll lean forward, move the right foot in, spin the right heel down and into the left a little bit, and then we'll move our hands back so that we have more room to straighten that left leg. We're going to straighten as much as our body is allowing us to work towards today. You might move that left hip back in space, right hip forward, and see how that changes pyramid pose on the back of each leg. And then if you've got the room, you can add in that dorsiflexion of the left foot. That means we draw our toes towards our face again. Or you can bend the elbows and come into some sort of forward fold. Like we moved dynamically earlier, you could also be exploring what it feels like to move in and out or to flex and point your toes. We'll breathe into our pyramid pose for 3, 2, 1, we'll replace that foot down to the mat, bend into the left knee, step your right foot forward. Give yourself a little shake here if you need it. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we roll up. Activate the legs on the way up, and we're going to move straight into our standing balance on this side. So we're going to shift the weight into the left leg. Figure out if we need to straighten it or bend it a little bit. Focus our gaze on one point that's not moving. If we need an intermediate, you've got the block there. You can put your right tip toes on, hands or wherever it's going to help us balance right now. And then from here, once we feel stable, lengthening up through the crown of the head, we're going to work hip flexor, deep core, to pull our right thigh in towards our chest. Once we have that, we're going to scoop underneath if we have the space, interlace our hands underneath our right thigh, or just hang on to the right thigh. They don't have to be interlaced. From here, we reaffirm our gaze, try to stand up a little bit taller, and then we'll extend the right leg. Flex the toes back towards our face, drive out through that heel, work your quadricep, try to stand up tall, keep breathing. Most important thing in a balance is the breath. You know, we think that we want to keep the balance the whole time, we want to nail it. Don't worry about that. Just worry about the breath. And if you fall, just try it again. Take one more breath in. Re-bend on the exhale, that right knee back. Place the right foot back down. Inhale up. Exhale, swan dive down. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step back. We're going to find top of our plank. So we're probably going to be a little bit more extended than we have been before. Drive out through our arms, work our quads. 4, 3, 2. Lower the knees down to the mat. Exhale, hips back towards your heels, flexing the knees, Should feel pretty good after we've been working a lot of knee extension as well during practice. Hands can be up on blocks, or we can take those previous variations of child's pose we talked about. Breathing here for a couple more cycles of breath. From here, start to lift your head and your chest up and away. We're going to grab our strap and move it towards the top of the mat, closer to our blocks. We're going to work through that little flow one time, and we're going to add on. We're going to do what we did on our backs. We're going to try it standing as an extra challenge. If that doesn't work for us, we have the previous variation that we just worked that we can move into. So, blocks on the mat. We've got that high plank position. Really work left leg, hug right knee in towards our chest, and we're going to step our right foot forward. We're going to set up our feet for our lunge. We might have that intermediate step for crescent lunge, or we might just lift up into it. Can really reach out through the arms, deep breath in. Exhale, hands down. Lean into the right foot, step our left foot in, spin the heel down and in, straighten that right leg a little bit more. You can change the orientation of hips a little bit here. You can dorsiflex the foot. Take a breath in. Breath out. Lean forward into that right foot so we can step our left foot forward. This is the point where the flow is going to change up just a little bit. We're going to grab our strap, and either with that loop or with loose ends, either one, we're going to wrap it around the ball of the left foot, underneath the ball of the left foot. We'll start to pull the strap up towards our chest, moving the weight into the right foot, and then we're going to move into our intermediate, left foot on that block. From here, we're going to make sure we're stable. Once we're standing, if we need to move to a wall, feel free to do that. Draw your left leg up towards your chest. From here, we're going to use the strap. As we extend the leg, you can just slide it out through the hands. Walk the hands closer down towards the foot if we have more space. Left quadriceps are really active. The muscles that live on the left shin are active, drawing our toes towards our face. Knee is bent a little bit or a lot if we need it to be for the hamstrings. Standing leg can be bent or straight. We're going to try to stand up a little bit taller. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Nice, y'all. Draw the left foot back down towards the floor. Move the foot out of the strap. We're going to step the left foot back. Lower the strap down. Step back into that kind of higher plank position. Firm up right thigh, hug the left knee in towards our chest. Step our left foot forward, position our feet left to right for our crescent lunge. So heel lifted, we're going to lift straight up or work through our intermediate step. Lengthen up through the spine, deep breath in. Exhale, hands down. Right foot steps in for pyramid pose. We shorten our stance, heel down and into the left. We're going to play with it for a breath here. So whatever variation or little movement you found in that first set you liked, go ahead and do that. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Going to come back up to our palms if we went down lower. Bend into the left knee. Step the right foot forward. Going to move more awareness into our left foot because that's going to be our balancing leg. And we're going to slip our strap or that loop underneath the ball of the right foot. As we roll up, we're really grounding ourselves into our left leg. Intermediate, right foot to the block. We can get stable here, find our dristi. That's our external gazing point, that point where our gaze is focused, it's not moving. Try to stand up a little bit taller, and rather than pulling the strap your leg towards your body, try to work with as much ferocity as you can to pull your right leg in, and a little bit of help from the strap. Once we get that, have a loose grip in the strap ends so that as you extend the leg, it just slides out through the hands here. Flex your right toes towards your face. If you want to straighten your arms, you can always walk the hands down the strap. We're going to try to stand up taller here. Again, we might be wobbling, we might be falling. That's all good. You're learning how to stabilize your body. Breathe. Let's take another deep breath. Diaphragmatic, not necessarily deep, but diaphragmatic. But breath into the belly. Let it go. We'll start to lower the right foot down towards the floor. You can slip that strap out of the way. A little extra test of balance here. As you take it back, you might just stay on that left foot. Hands touch to the blocks. Right foot back. Left foot back. We find our plank. Firm up thighs. Belly, arms. Breathe 4, 3, 2. Nice job, y'all. Knees down to the mat. Exhale, hips to your heels. Find a child's pose. Two more cycles of breath. Gonna walk the hands back, begin to lift the spine and the chest upright, and we'll just swing off one hip or the other to take the legs around. We'll draw the soles of the feet together, knees open. I'm just gonna move around a little bit, little butterfly shape. We probably did this as kids. Feet can be close in towards the pelvis, they can be further out, just a little bit of movement, shaking for the legs, but with a knee flexion because we've had so much extension in tonight's practice. Then shift the weight back into the hands, take the feet about mat width apart, and we're just going to windshield wiper left and right. Now you can let one butt cheek come all the way up off the mat if you want to as you rock side to side, or you can stay more grounded and just work the knee side to side. So rotate in the torso and the chest and the hips as much as you want to. Take another couple of rounds here. As we come back through center, we'll move any of the props that we need to that are taking up space on our mat out of the way. And we're going to grab one of our blocks as we go back down onto our back. As we lay back onto our back, we're going to keep the knees up towards the ceiling, the soles of the feet on the mat. You find your natural stable distance apart for your feet, and whether your toes point naturally forward or they turn in or out a little bit probably is going to depend on the orientation of if you're more internally or externally rotating your hips. Maybe if you walk with your feet out, more externally rotated. If we're a little bit more bow-legged, the toes or the knees in, or if we find ourselves more neutral. Press into the soles of your feet. Take your block, lift up the booty away from the mat, and we're going to slip this block right above the tailbone beneath the lower back. There's a bone there called the sacrum. It's kind of flattish, and it's going to settle down onto that block, finding a supported extension or back bend of the spine here. Now we can stay here. This is perfectly okay. Otherwise, we're going to activate the hamstrings in a little bit of a strengthening exercise versus a stretching. So as we lift up into our active back bend, we're going to think about really driving not only the heels into the mat, but scooping them towards us. Now, we're not actually going to move our feet on the mat because we don't want to slip out of our back bend. But it's this idea, think about if we're on a beach, you know how you're standing in one spot and the water rushes over our feet? And as it kind of rushes back, you sink down a little bit further and you get deeper and deeper into that pit. So that's kind of what we want to think about with our heels. So really connect with the entirety of the foot, but really with the heels, you might already feel, without lifting your hips, your booty muscles engage a little bit. I kind of felt that natural engagement as I drove into the heels. And then from there, if it feels okay, we're going to do that tailbone drawing under, lift it up towards the ceiling, hip points up, and you're really going to drag into your heels as if you want to pull them back towards your body. So you should feel the hamstrings turn on, not in a stretch, but more in a strengthening mode. The toes are turned in or out as much as we need to for the knees to feel comfortable. We'll breathe here. 3, 2. On 1, lower back down towards the block. We can grab onto that block. Lightly draw one knee in a little bit, foot off the mat. Other knee in a little bit, foot off the mat. If you feel stable, let's take them up towards the ceiling. Give them a shake here, shake out through the feet, shake out through the toes. Legs don't have to be really straight here. Got it. One more moment. And then bend the knees again. Bring the feet back down to the floor. We'll press into the feet again so we can elevate sacrum off of the block, move it off to the side. And then we're going to let both knees move over to the right. Little subtle twist here. If you need your feet right together and to move them off to the right, that's fine too. You can turn your head in the opposite direction. We'll come back through center, take it off to the left. Do whatever feels good with your head and your neck and your arms. Come back through center. You can draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a squeeze or rock and roll around, anything like that that you need to. Feel free to grab any props that you want to use for your Shavasana now, and we'll settle down into our last pose. So pillows, blankets, all that good stuff. You've got any lower back issues, sometimes placing the knees elevated a little bit onto a blanket or a pillow can help the lower back. Hands can be on our belly or they can be off to the sides. Any final movements that you need to do to get comfortable in your Shavasana here. You can put on an eye pillow or layer a towel on top of your eyes. Let the whole back of the body get heavy. Let's take one of those clearing breaths. Deep breath in. Let it go. If you're enjoying your Shavasana, feel free to shut the video off. Stay here as long as you want. Otherwise, draw a slightly deeper breath in through the nose, letting it out through the mouth. Start to bring in a little movement into your fingers, into your toes. Can roll out your wrists and your ankles a little bit here. Can stretch your arms back long alongside your ears if you need to, point out through your toes. Then hugging your knees in so that you can rock over to either your right or your left side. And from your right or left side, press through your palms. Start to lift yourself up into a seat. Use any props that you need to here for your seat. We'll sit up a little bit taller. And take a moment, close the eyes or focus the gaze. Allow yourself to take in all of your effort and all of the work you put into your practice. And all of the information it imparted upon you. Drawing the hands to heart center or hand to belly and to heart. Remembering that this practice is our own. Bow to yourself. Receive the teachers that showed up for you today, your energy. I bow to you, thanking you so much for your time and your practice, sharing it with me on this medium. Great job. It's, to me, a really playful practice where we should have time to explore and feel like we get it wrong and feel like we get it right and see what new cool thing we can learn about ourselves, our bodies, our reaction to the practice, all of that. So if you have any questions for me, any feedback for me, please let me know now as I shut this down, or feel free to send me an email or any comments as I add it to the YouTube video list. Thank y'all so much for joining me.